Oi Jizz, what's the most OP build this patch? What's up GameLeapers? The Jizz is back at it, and in today's video we're going to reveal the 10 best builds carving up play in 11.6 and the champions you have to abuse these on. Now there are a couple of real gems in here that very few know about, so make sure you stick around for the whole video. Now as we all know, Season 11 is literally League of Items. If your champion doesn't synergize well with the new mythics, the new and updated legendaries and the rest of the shop, chances are you're going to be very upset. Now do you guys know what will make you happy and win? The Jizz will tell you, the GameLeap website. So for exclusive access to our fresh daily content that is original, it's fire, it's informative, and most importantly, the courses, guides, and videos are guaranteed to help you improve, just like thousands of your fellow summoners, so get clicking. Links as always in the description and comment section. Alright, starting off the countdown guys, we have a build that is built by a mid laner and a couple of bruisers, and is the main reason one of these is OP tier at the moment. So the build involves rushing an Essence Reaver and then building a Mortal Shield Bow, and this AD mythic got changed this patch. And honestly, for Corki, Gangplank, and Fiora, for the better. Okay, so you don't get as much lifesteal, and the lifesteal and the passive has been Alt F forward, but you're getting AD instead and a bigger shield, and on these champs you're not exactly tanky. If you get CC'd or bursted by a mage, most likely you're dying soon after, but the shield offers more protection. Ooh, and the AD is like Last Stand, but on steroids. Your autos hit harder, your spells hit harder, and you kill champions quicker. Now the Essence Reaver rush is important to complete beforehand, because for just 2900 gold, you get an earlier spike that includes a nice chunk of AD, ability haze, critical strike chance, and the Spellblade passive, which is very easy to proc on these champions, especially GP. And of course the mana restoration is super helpful too. I should also mention that Boost of Lucidity are the best sneakers to accompany these two major items to test the ER Shield Bow combo out this patch guys, and you will know what the Jizz is raving about. Now just ahead of that item combo guys, we have another one that, well, most of you for sure know about and have complained about this season, and yeah, you're going to keep complaining about it. Now how many of you have been abusing Hecarim, Udyr, and Skarner? Well, Heck got nerfed this patch, that's true, and Udyr has been nerfed multiple times, but the thing is guys, their core items, which are Turbo Chemtank and Dead Man's Plate, are still very strong indeed. I mean, Chemtank is what actually saved Hecarim from falling out of the top tier of champions, and couple this with Dead Man's and it's not exactly hard to hard carry. The movement speed from Chemtank's active and Dead Man's, the tankiness with both items, and then you have the ability haze passive from the TC, which doesn't sound too impactful, but on champions whose cooldowns matter, I mean just think of Udyr for example, this is clutch, so still a powerful build in 11.6. Now this next build guys is behind the dominance of Elise and Diana in solo queue this season, and you can also build these two items off the bat as Akali. It's just that yeah, Akali is really struggling even in high elo this patch with just a 42% win rate in Challenger. But yeah, you're starting with Night Harvester and then building Lichbane. You see, ever since Riot put more AP into the NH back in 11.1 guys, Diana and Elise in particular have been sending it. This of course means your abilities are dealing more damage, and with the burst from Night Harvester's passive and Lichbane, you can one-shot anyone on the Rift. It's also very easy to apply Lichbane's Spellblade on both champions, and the general fact that magic resist items suck means as burst mages, you're in a great spot. Now the buff to Shield Bow's shield might mean you miss out on a kill here and there, but in the big picture guys, this Night Harvester and Lichbane combo is still fire. Now this next item combo, I know that all of you are familiar with this, whether you play these champions or not, because it's quite simply busted. So if I say Stridebreaker and Steric's Gauge, ring any bells? Now Stridebreaker did get nerfed this patch guys, so you lost 33% of its original HP, and this does matter because it weakens your first item power spike. But the dash you're keeping, the slow you're keeping, the movement speed you're keeping, so on Darius, on Garen, on Nocturne, enemies still can't escape death. Now your other major item, the Gauge, this got bug fixed, and it's funny because most bug fixes are actually huge buffs, and this is no different, because your bloodline stacks now properly stack, meaning your sustain in fights is off the charts and you're a lot harder to take down. So the Juggernauts in the top lane this patch guys with Stridebreaker and Sterix are still right up there. Now who likes a bit of tank action on the Rift? I know I don't, but some of you might, and the great thing about tanks this patch guys is that they are easy to play and easy to win on. So if you're a boomer like me and your mechanics are deteriorating with age, or you just don't have enough time to learn high skill ceiling champions, then this build is all you need. So you start with Sunfire Aegis and then build Thornmail, and Sunfire got 11.6 buffed, so your Immolate damage is back to what it was in the preseason, which was why Sunfire was so annoying to play against, and you're also getting 5 more ability haste, which is super useful on tanks like Poppy and Sion, because your abilities can turn fights around, they're very impactful, whether it's to peel a fed teammate or full on lockdown an enemy squishy. The extra damage means your dueling is better too, so when the late game rolls around you're not just a team fighter, you can battle it out with the Camilles and Dariuses of the Rift. Now remember, into hard early game matchups you can rush a Bramblefest, sit on it until you complete Sunfire Aegis, and the enemy Fiora, Jax, Tryndamere, these auto attackers, they cannot do anything to you, apart from Flame. So Sunfire and Thornmail guys in 11.6 back in our best builds countdown. Now this is where it gets really interesting guys, the top 5 builds of 11.6, and if you're enjoying this series, make sure to let the Jizz and Co know by liking the video down below, and kicking off the top 5 we have a build that is the reason why I'm boarding. It's that frustrating to play against, but super OP to use. Now who watched our best mid laners video? If you haven't, make sure you do, but if you did, you will remember me recommending mages like Ahri, Anivia, and Kassadin. Now why is that? Well, there's a certain item combination combination these magic damage dealers can build that nullifies the threat of AD assassins while keeping their own burst damage intact. And this includes Everfrost and then Zhonya's Hourglass. And it's not just these three champions that can make use of it. Most mages can. So Sylas springs to mind, so does Lissandra, Ryze. And yeah, the reason Everfrost has been seen way more recently is because Riot buffed it in 11.4, and out of the many buffs, the two big ones for this build are the buffs to Glaciate, Everfrost active. It now deals more damage and scales with your AP, so having another source of damage like this is crazy and makes your combos on a champion like Kassadin in particular very scary indeed. But also the utility guys. So for Ahri and Anivia, when you land that Glaciate root, you 100% land your Charm or your Flash Frost and that enemy champion goes boom. So you have a couple of ways to go about carrying. And then we have Zhonya's, which yeah, lets you make these risky plays free of charge, and it's extremely hard to kill you with that Stasis and Glaciate root. Now Seekers did get nerfed heavily this patch, that's correct, so getting to this spike will be harder no doubt, but the full package is still oppressive and there's very little counterplay. So if you want to root yourselves on victories this patch guys, then use this build, it is broken. Now speaking of that Seekers nerf, the lack of armor mages have is great for those champions building the 4th best item combination on our countdown. So if you're playing Jhin, Misfortune or Graves, your Gale Force, the Collector and Infinity Edge core is even better for the next 2 weeks. And the reason is that the lethality from your Serrated Dirk and the Collector is not thwarted as much by the armor and Seekers, and in the early to mid game this is huge. You can acquire more kills and more leads as a result and 1v9 more games. This build has been a staple in this series guys, and you know why? Because it's OP and will continue to be so in 11.6. Alright, we're into the top 3 builds guys for 11.6, and before we send it, one last friendly reminder to check out the GameLeap website if you want to become the best you can be. If you want to keep toiling away, winning and losing and blaming your teammates, whatever it is, but if you want to buck that trend and start seeing victory on the reg at the end of games, do yourself a favor and get signed up. I'm also uploading daily videos analyzing high elo gameplay, so there's no way you don't improve. Links down below. Now the third best build this patch guys, I'm frothing this one because one change Riot made to this mythic item this patch has made it one of the best item rushes in the game. And this item is Luden's Tempest, and the new effect Riot added means that you reduce the echo cooldown of Luden's when you damage an enemy champion with an ability. And this is unreal for tick damage abilities, so think of Cassiopeia's Q or Fizz's W, and you're going to see a couple of clips of me proccing this passive multiple times. Can you see the timer on Luden's going down with each tick of damage? It's pretty OP, right? So you get access to the movement speed and the extra damage from the echo passive more often, and this opens up more kill opportunities and adds to your slipperiness, making you harder to bring down. Now another champion who is exploiting this new effect is Taliyah, who currently has over a 60% win rate in Challenger. 60%, and the reason this is so busted is because each rock you throw out in your Q reduces Luden's cooldown by half a second, and the movement speed is such a valuable stat on Taliyah because you can get more Qs off from fresh terrain and pepper the enemy team. So 11.6 Luden's guys is a biggie, and if you've tested this out on any mage in the last couple of days, let me know how you got on in the comments. And that goes for the rest of these builds as well. Now the runner-up build to the best 11.6 build guys, well this one isn't as surprising as the Luden's Rush, but it is stronger. So remember how I was saying Seeker's arm guard is a lot weaker? Well if champions have less armor, that's good for attack damage champions, right? And AD assassins in particular, because their lethality then shreds even more. And that's why this build pops off. So you're rushing Prowler's Claw and Boots of Lucidity, then Serpent's Fang. And on champions like Zed, Talon and Qiyana, this is nutty. Even with the old version of Seekers, this lethality setup was putting in work, and now it's even scarier. Now Prowler's Claw is a massive spike because the 21 lethality you get, which is the most from any item, and the active that gives you a free dash and amplified damage on that target, and then the passive that gives you lethality for each legendary item you have, no one is going to survive guys. Cooldown boots is also an integral part of this build because yes, cooldowns are key on assassins. You know, being able to use your abilities more often in fights equals more kills and equals more carry. Then we have Serpent's Fang, which got buffed in 11.5, so it reduces the strength of shields on that target champion and incoming shields too, and in 11.6 shields are more commonplace than those pro guides add. Are you guys still getting them? I haven't actually checked in a while. So think of Steric's Gauge, think of the bigger shield from Shieldbow, think of Gargles, think of Bloodthirster, the Guardian Keystone. There's just too many. So if you damage that champion with an auto attack or ability, they are going to be way more killable. How good. So the PC, Lucidity Boots and SF are busted as in 11.6 guys, so get around it. Now I would put my GameLeap subscription on it that none of you guys can guess the #1 build of 11.6, and this one isn't a typical build, it's more of an item rush like the Luden's one we talked about, but there's one champion you have to use this on before he gets nerfed. So when I say Nash's Tooth, no doubt you think of Katarina, you think of Shyvana, and yes, these two champions perform well with the Tooth, but this patch guys, there's a buffed rework champion it works even better on. So much so that this dude has a 60% win rate in Masters and above as a mid laner. So how many of you, be honest as well, guess Nash's Tooth, Xin Zhao? None of you, right? Because it's that whack. Now this item on the new Xin Zhao guys is legit out of this world OP. So Riot put a bunch of AP in your kit in 11.6 and one big change was to your W and E. So the thrust in your W now challenges enemy champions and you can E these targets from 1100 units units away, which is like a Luxie in half of mid lane. That's how long it is. So when you have a Nash's Tooth and hit your opposite number with your W and then charge into them, you kill them every single time unless they flash away. And if you have seen this in the last 48 hours, guys, help the Jizz out and tell everyone else how OP this is. And if you want to take it a step further, you can take Hell of Blades in your runes to maximize that kill threat in the early to mid game. So Nash's Tooth Xin Zhao mid, guys, is the #1 build and champion combination of 11.6, and take advantage of this before Rito nerfs it. So guys, build any of these combinations in the next week or so and you'll be climbing like never before. And if you think you have a more secret OP build than the ones mentioned, feel free to let us know in the comments. Remember to subscribe and turn on all notifications, of course, before leaving. This has been Coach Cheese, and it's tomorrow's video.